Thank you, sir. For the next case discussion, I request Dr. VG Pradeep Kumar.
I'm here only.
Dr. VG Pradeep Kumar, sir, is the Senior Consultant and Deputy Chief of Baby Memorial Hospital Limited, Kozhikode. His areas of interest are stroke, neuromuscular disorders, and electrophysiology. And for second moderation, I would like to invite Dr. P. Vijaya ma'am. She's the HOD and Senior Consultant of Neurology from Lalita Super Speciality Hospital in Guntur. Ma'am and sir, I would like to request you to kindly take over the next case discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. I will request Dr. Vijaya ma'am to start with proceedings.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I think that's a very good case discussion that we had. And another important scenario we are going to discuss now. I think Dr. Megha from PGI, are you there, Dr. Megha?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. And we'll start off. This is a very important scenario that all of us will be facing. So this is a 30-year-old lady who was 37 weeks pregnant, G2, P2, and L1. She presented with sudden onset weakness of right upper and lower limb associated with loss of speech. There was an uneventful previous pregnancy, and there is no history of seizures, loss of consciousness, or palpitations during the ictus. No other neurological deficits were noted from the history. No headache, vomitings. Reached a local hospital within 1 hour of symptom onset. Now, what do you think, Dr. Megha? This is the patient you saw in your ER. What do you think?
Ma'am, this patient could as she has right upper limb as well as lower limb weakness with inability to speak, this can be a stroke. Maybe with a 37-week pregnancy, I will also like to rule out stroke mimics with this.
Like what? What do you want to see? Patient is there in front of you in the ER.
Ma'am, with this history, I will also like to check for the sugars. In first, the first thing which I will like to rule out the hypoglycemia, and other than that, I will also like to rule out any in a pregnancy the cardiac workup for cardiac clinical signs if she is having any.
Okay. You mean to have only arterial stroke or some other stroke also? It's a pregnant lady, no? Arterial stroke or any other vascular
CVT can be CVT. Possibility of CVT is also there, but patient does not have any headache in the above history. No headache, no seizures, or any loss of consciousness is not there, sir.
Good. If it is an arterial stroke, what is the thing? What type of stroke that you are thinking?
Ma'am, being a right upper limb with lower limb along with inability to speak, a possibility of left-sided large vessel stroke, I will keep with the possibility of involvement of either the proximal or the M1 occlusion of the MCA.
Okay, large vessel occlusion, fine. It's a large stroke, probably
yes.
LVO. But what do you think is the type of stroke in the TOAST criteria? What do you think?
According to TOAST criteria, ma'am, it could be a cardioembolic stroke.
Why? What is the clue in the history?
Ma'am, the sudden onset of weakness, and within 1 hour, she has the maximum weakness of upper limb as well as lower limb with speech inability, and it will not be a posterior circulation as there was no loss of consciousness with the associated. So, a possibility of anterior circulation, large vessel stroke, I will keep.
Okay. May engage and embolic stroke is the most common. And one more test you can do at the bedside. True. One more test like in blood sugar you said, that's very good. First you rule out hypoglycemia. And then what is the other simple test that you want to do at the bedside in the ER? When you are suspecting embolic stroke?
BP, I will also check for the patient. Pre-eclampsia can also be present in a 37-week pregnant female.
Okay. And what else? What is the other simple test that you want to do? Check for your pulse.
Can you be a bit louder?
I will like to also check for. Yes, sir.
Megha, just a bit louder, please. You need to come closer to your mic. You are heard, but slightly louder, please.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Other than that, I will also check for the pulse to rule out any irregular pulse also, ma'am.
And do an ECG. You can always do an ECG. Okay, at least just check your pulse. Good. What is your next step? Since if the blood sugars are normal, she's not improving, and you have anti-circulation stroke, MCA territory, LVO. What do you think?
Yes.
If she came to you, PGI or AIMS, what do you want to do? Or if you are there in your native place?
In a referral center and in a tertiary care center, I will, if possible, and round the clock 24-hour MRI facility is available, I will go for a DWI imaging along with FLAIR. And with
she came within 1 hour. 1 hour of ICTUS. So window period is only 1 hour.
1 hour, yes, ma'am.
Why are you preferring MRI?
Ma'am, being a pregnant female, as such, there is no contraindication for CT in a pregnant female, as the risk of fetal exposure is low, less than 0.05 centigrade. But if I am in a higher center, I will go for, and there is round the clock facility for MRI is available, then I will go for a MRI with MR angio.
That invites a question on the varying radiology during the varying trimester of pregnancy, first trimester, second trimester, final trimester, third trimester. Definitely, if you have a CT angiogram, why don't you go for that? Because clinically, you are suspecting a large vessel occlusion.
Yes, sir. NCCT head and CT angio, intracranial as well as the extracranial vessel, I will like to do, sir. Then.
So depending upon your institute protocol, either you can go through a CT protocol or a MR with TROF, because you are suspecting LVO. That is true. Yes. If it was not an LVO, you can just do a CT because you don't want to lose time. Your NIH score was only 5 or 6, then first you can do a CT scan with protection of the fetus with a lead apron. Okay, even though it's not very much, but no harm in giving extra protection. Yes. So, okay. So the first thing is you go for imaging. In the first contact hospital, they didn't have probably MR. They opted for CT scan, the non-contrast CT scan. And as you said, you have an option of doing the diffusion MRI and TROF MR angiogram in this patient. If it can be rapidly done, and the patient is also very cooperative, she's conscious and alert. This is the CT. Please read the CT, Megha.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in this CT, I can see a hyperdense MCA in the left side. Along with that, there is attenuation of the gray white matter junction at the insular cortex, and that is what I can see.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello. Yes. Good. So there are the early ischemic changes are there along with the dense MCA. Yes. What do we want to do? What do you want to do?
Ma'am, without waiting, I will go for if as she has come within 1 hour, thrombolysis as well as thrombectomy, both are the possible option which we can do for in a pregnant female. As there are no recommendations, but guidelines are there. Before like 2015, there was like pregnancy is a relative, it is an absolute contraindication. Now it is under a relative contraindication, and after discussing with the patient's relative, I will give them the option for thrombolysis as well as for the mechanical thrombectomy.
Sorry to interrupt, your screen share has stopped. Dr. Vijay?
You are muted. Ma'am, you are muted.
Please. You are on mute. Yes, ma'am.
I think Pradeep, you can continue the discussion.
I think, Dr. Megha, if you have the facility for doing an advanced CT angiogram, including estimation of collaterals, I think, would you prefer that or not?
Yes, sir. CT with CT angiogram I will like to do, but as the patient has come within 1 hour and without delaying, we can give thrombolysis to the patient, IV thrombolysis.
So you would prefer IV thrombolysis or mechanical thrombectomy in this patient? considering her pregnancy, third trimester, 37 weeks?
Being in last trimester, with the risk of bleeding with the risk of bleeding with the pregnancy itself being a hypercoagulable state, I will prefer for a thrombectomy over thrombolysis.
So what are the reservation for IV thrombolysis? Do you think that it will cause fetal bleeding or uterine hemorrhage or something else? What is your reservation for IV thrombolysis?
Of uterine, so uterine bleeding can also be there. Fetal, basically altiplase does not cross the placenta. The chances of fetal bleeding are not there. The chances of uterine bleeding is there, or if it is a large vessel stroke, then the chances of intracranial bleed can also be there.
Yeah, how many cases have you in
Madhu,
your literature search? Yeah, ma'am, you can carry on, ma'am.
yeah, you can hear me? Yeah, sure.
Yes.
So given your decision of IV thrombolysis is good if it was a non-pregnant patient. Now this is a pregnant patient, that minor risk of the uterine bleed is still there, as you said,
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Megha. If you have a chance
Yes.
of direct thrombectomy versus IV and bleeding, there is always a chance. And of course, this is not a very clear-cut guideline in that matter, but still, you can still opt for a direct thrombectomy, mechanical thrombectomy. As you can see, a clot there. Okay.
Yes.
Next. What is the next step?
I will have one more question to Dr. Megha. If you have a scenario of IV thrombolysis and mechanical thrombectomy, and then mechanical thrombectomy plus bridging, like you give altiplase first, then followed by mechanical thrombectomy, which would you prefer and why?
Sir, as such in pregnancy, there are no guidelines or any. There are only just case reports which suggest for basically IV thrombolysis or IV thrombectomy. But if we give both thrombolysis as well as thrombectomy, the chances of increased bleed will be more in the pregnant, the 37 with a large vessel stroke, sir. I think
Yeah,
with a
why?
high
Because what is the reason for that?
with a high NIHs, with the involving more than 1/3 of the, if it is involving more than 1/3, so there will be risk of increased bleeding in a patient.
And more than that, pregnancy.
Cardiac, no? What is
Yeah.
it? Etiology is
Being
all
a
again.
cardiac,
Yeah.
being a
And the other way around
cardiac
also,
patient,
pregnancy
there is
itself is a vascular. There is a lot of changes in the
pregnancy
vessel wall that can cause
Yes.
more bleeding when you give a bridging therapy plus mechanical thrombectomy.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. Either you give IV thrombolysis if it was a primary stroke center setup. First, you give IV thrombolysis and then transfer the patient to a higher center.
Higher.
That would have been ideal. But unfortunately, the first hospital where the patient went, I think she was not licensed, and then she was referred to a higher center. And she presented to the AIMS emergency 12 hours into stroke. And then what do you do? Well, if you are there, what is it? You have this history and you saw the patient, and what is your next step? What do you do? The whole scan is there in your hands.
Ma'am, I will like to go for the MRI with MR angio, and we'll see for the area of the salvageable penumbra if it is possible, ma'am.
You made diffusion perfusion mismatch because vessel is already occluded. You know more than the MR angio. You would like to see if there is any mismatch.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Good. So this is what she's there in your emergency. The pulse is 100 per minute and regular. BP 126 per 82, respiratory rate 15, SpO2 100%, RBS 133. Neurological examination, she is conscious and confused with global aphasia. Right side 7th nerve palsy. I think I got disconnected again. No. Okay. And these are all the investigations. Homocysteine is little bit high, but otherwise it's not at all significant. Coming to the other investigations, the only significant positive report is in the echocardiogram, where there is myxomatous mitral valve with moderate MR, non-rheumatic. And LA size is 6.4 centimeters. The workup for the collagen workup is negative. So then what do you think? What do you think is the etiology in this patient, and what is the risk factor that you are considering?
Ma'am, the possibility being it will according then it will be a cardioembolic stroke, which has been the possibility, and there would be being a myxomatous mitral valve with a moderate MR. The chances of clot formation has been there, which has resulted in the clot is there, which has caused the stroke in the patient, and that is all.
One more clue in the echo
And
that
the
may
left
be a
atrial,
risk of clot.
the left atrial size is 6.4
Very good.
centimeters. So so the stasis of the blood, which has resulted in clot formation and causing the emboli to go to the brain, has been there.
And what is the usual cutoff for the LA size and risk of stroke?
4 centimeters. I
Yeah,
don't remember
approximately
exactly.
about 5 centimeters. More than 5, the risk is more. Yes. And as you are mentioned, clearly the MR is what is the important. It's not just simple MVP, as you know, is a normal variant. Up to 7 to 10% of population have it. By itself may not be a really big risk factor, but associated MR and the large left atrium. And one more thing you would be looking, though the pulse is regular at this time, you would have had a episodic atrial fibrillation, which could have precipitated. Yes. And would like to see a Holter, extended Holter if required.
Can be done for the patient, ma'am.
Yeah. So I'll show you the scan that were done in the this one. This is the scan you did in your AIMS RPGI. Repeat imaging. What is it showing?
Ma'am, it is showing involving more than one third of the MCA territory with the compression over the over the lateral ventricle, and with some mass effect with some mass effect is present, ma'am.
Big aspect score, almost 7, 8. Okay, but
Yes.
Little bit pressure. It's no shift of midline or anything. But in case she had a shift of midline and raised ICP, you will call a neurosurgeon and an obstetrician together. Yes. Yes.
Ma'am. For decompression may be required, and we have to monitor that.
Obviously, the patient is beyond your thrombectomy because of a large infarct already formed. Though she is still within 24 hours, and you could have tried if the scan was a good one. So I think this is what, and then the best thing that you can offer to this lady at this stage is to call for a multidisciplinary team to save the mother and child in the best possible way. And then, of course, will you take her up for EVT?
No, ma'am, because already the formed infarct has been there.
Yeah.
So there is no indication for going for endovascular therapy.
Okay, good. So rest of the investigations, cholesterol is little on the high side and homocysteine is on the high side. PCR, COVID is always an important cause of a large vessel stroke in our country at this time. We should always rule out. And what are the other special things about COVID-related stroke, Dr. Megha? Do you know? If it was a COVID, patient had a COVID and then she presented with stroke, what other things that are typically described in COVID and stroke?
I don't remember.
You already said one, large vessel occlusion, and then what?
Yes. Other than
bilateral, simultaneous.
Other than RCVS has been also been described.
Anybody else?
With the
They mimic more like a venous thrombosis with hemorrhagic infarct sometimes, paradoxical cortical.
CVT can be there with the COVID-related illness.
The imaging also mimics many of the findings mimics like venous infarcts, hemorrhage, bilaterality, more of hemorrhage, more edema, traumatic percentage, headache is one of the very important symptoms. Patients, many patients have been described. And can we go next?
That's what. Yes, the second part, I think Dr. Pradeep, you can take up about the secondary prevention part. So the patient delivered a healthy baby and she is recovering with physiotherapy. That's what this patient story ends there. And what about the next part? Dr. Pradeep, can you please take up the next part of discussion?
My slides move.
Yeah.
So in this, Dr. Megha, how will you proceed with this patient's management for the secondary prevention of stroke?
Sir, I will like to rule out any atrial fibrillation if possible, and with the extended loop recording, as paroxysmal AF are known with myxomatous valve degeneration, which can cause second cardioembolic stroke. And if patient falls, if being a non-valvular rheumatic heart disease, non-valvular rheumatic heart disease with the if AF is there, then I will like to go for anticoagulation for the patient. And if
You mean to
there
say the
is no,
non-valvular atrial fibrillation? That's what you mean?
Sir, basically myxomatous valve is not a rheumatic
Yes.
rheumatic it is basically a non rheumatic degeneration. So I will like to do the Chadwell-2 score if patient has AF also. So, and will decide based on this. If it is a myxomatous valve with a normal mitral valve prolapse is there, then the role of aspirin is there in the secondary prevention. And if it is a AF associated, or if the Chadwell score is more than equal to 2, then I will go for a anticoagulation for the patient.
Yeah, which anticoagulant would you prefer here? The postpartum?
Sir, heparin can be given to the patient, and low molecular weight heparin as well as the unfractionated heparin can be given to the patient.
And if
And 2 days after the delivery, it has been already been 2 days after a delivery, then we can give a low molecular weight as well as unfractionated heparin to the patient, and later we can shift the patient to the oral anticoagulation. Warfarin can be given. It is safe even in the lactating female.
and what is the evidence of the newer oral anticoagulation in these patients postpartum?
Sir,
Like
as there are no
dabigatran, apixaban, rivaroxaban.
Sir, as such, there are no evidence to support that. There are only some case studies are there which say which has not mentioned which has not been that we can offer or not. But the thing is, I think best is we can go for a vitamin K oral anticoagulant.
Madam, you want to add? Vijay, madam?
Regarding, I think we left that IV thrombolysis because the patient was not given in that hospital and she was beyond the period. If it was, what do you think about, what are your thoughts about IV thrombolysis during pregnancy? Is it okay? Is it safe? What are your thoughts? IV thrombolysis. Which
IV
one you
thrombolysis
want?
is Ma'am, IV thrombolysis is safe during pregnancy, and it has the same rate of hemorrhages as is seen in a non-pregnant female woman. And the only risk being at 37 is there is increased risk of uterine bleeding, or if she is already predisposed for any abruptio placenta or any peripartum hemorrhages, so we can have high risk for bleeding. Otherwise, the role of thrombolysis is there, and it should be treated as in a non-pregnant female.
Good, good, very good. So it's only the obstacle problem that has more risk, but as a patient, mother has the same risk as a non-pregnant patient. Especially if in earlier months of pregnancy, you can thrombolyze and she will continue her pregnancy maybe with an aspirin, which is a safe one. And other drugs, if she has a high risk of, like if she has an AF or something, you are right. She can go with either unfractionated or easier will be the Clexane or LMWX type of things throughout the pregnancy till the labor. And then at the time of labor, you can withhold for 24 hours, the whatever she's getting. And then within 24 hours of delivery, you can restart. These are the precautions, I think. And what else? Dr. Pradeep, any other thing?
Yeah, the other question is regarding this during the post labor, during the after this postpartum, during this labor, what are the complications you can anticipate this patient?
Sir, as the patient has a large vessel stroke, and there is that possibility of raised ICP can be there. So to avoid that, and if she is going under the normal labor, then we have to cut short the second stage of labor so that there is no episode of raised ICP, and chances of bleeding, intracranial bleeding, can be reduced. Sir. And cesarean or going for a normal delivery both has the equal chance. In fact, if thinking of the stroke and going for a cesarean section, then it will have a more chances of bleeding or seen with the cesarean section than going for a normal delivery, sir.
Okay. And regarding these ischemic strokes, we have discussed a lot. What are the other categories of stroke that you'll be worried in a pregnant patient if it was not ischemic or a CVT, as you said? CVT is again a problem. Postpartum. Postpartum, most common is. And can you tell me one more cardiac condition that is predisposed, especially in India? We have these condition where only pregnant women are affected and they have high risk of cardiac failure as well as a stroke. Can have stroke. What is that?
Mitral stenosis with AF has a high risk.
Rheumatic heart disease, okay. No. Only during pregnancy. Mitral stenosis, rheumatic is like any other ladies, young ladies can have. Only for pregnant patients. What is the other? What is it? Especially for in pregnant patients, cardio, muscle involvement. Yes.
Peripartum cardiomyopathy can be
excellent.
There, which can cardiomyopathy can cause the high risk for stroke, and it can also present as cardioembolic stroke.
True.
Do you think about how this patient improved so much because there's dramatic improvement in large vessel occlusion?
Ignore the CT.
Yes,
and what is the phenomena called? If the patient has a large deficit and then she improves dramatically to MRS of, what is that phenomena called in cardiac embolism? See, the patient came with an NIH score of 20. For example, she improved to NIH score of 5 or 6 within a span of few days.
Yes.
What do you think? What is the word used for that in a cardioembolic patient, and what is the reason? Spectacular? Shrinking? Anyone can answer. What is it called? Any other resident?
Spectacular shrinking deficit, Lazarus phenomena.
Yes.
And
The CT is very ghastly, but happy that the patient improved, being a young person, to MRS2. We just didn't discuss about the third important group, Dr. Megha, about the hypertensive disorders of pregnancy, which are very common and important causes of hemorrhagic stroke as well. And they are preventable with a good antenatal care. That is one thing which we all have to be aware. And whenever a patient comes to you, a pregnant patient with any symptoms of headache or neurological symptoms, please be very, very careful about checking and following up for a preeclampsia, eclampsia syndromes, which are very much common and preventable.
We need to
Dr.
Yes.
Yeah, before concluding, and Dr. Mecca, if the patient had a seizure, and headache, seizure, and focal weakness, and MRI doesn't show infarct, some other any condition which will mimic like stroke, like I had a patient similarly came with aphasia and almost right hemiplegia like syndrome, and she remarkably improved without any IV thrombolysis, without any intervention. Can you say one condition which will mimic?
RCVS, reversible vasoconstriction syndrome, can mimic stroke, sir.
And reversible encephalopathy, posterior reversible encephalopathy also sometimes mimic like this. Yeah. They can even have hemorrhages also. The prefrontal hemorrhages also.
Yes.
We had a couple of patients in pregnancy, the third trimester, similarly. Yeah, madam.
Yes, I agree. I agree with Dr.
Okay,
Very important
we need
and
to conclude
very
the
good
session now,
prognosis.
please. Can we conclude the session?
We have
Yeah.
the keynote address coming up.
Yeah.
It's this keynote address. Thanks. Thank you so much.
So,
Thanks, Dr. Padma and Dr. Rohit for the
Thank you.
and Dr. Megha, thank you so much for your beautiful case presentation.
with the
Good
chairperson's permission, we
Thank you.
close the session. Thank you, Dr. Pradeep, Vijaya, and Megha for a wonderful discussion.